Scientific knowledge is a key. Every human is granted the right to use it to open the gates of heaven. Yet that same key is capable of unlocking the gates of hell. There is no instruction manual. We stand on the threshold of an era where the price of a mistake is not merely defeat in a war, but the disappearance of the very fabric of reality. Have you ever wondered, why are you you? Why did you wake up to self-awareness here and now, at the dawn of the 21st century, rather than in the body of a Spartan or a colonist from the distant future? The answer might be far darker than mere coincidence. The mathematics of apocalypse. In 1983, physicist Brandon Carter formulated the doomsday argument. Imagine two urns. One contains 10 balls, the other 1,000. If you pull out ball number 6, you instantly realize that you have, with overwhelming probability, stumbled upon the small urn. Today, the number of humans who have ever lived is estimated at 100 billion. You are roughly the 100 billionth ball. If humanity is destined to settle the galaxy and exist for millions of years, the total number of humans will reach the quadrillions. In that case, the probability of your appearance right now, at the very beginning of history, is infinitesimal. Mathematics whispers a terrifying truth. We are likely not at the start of our journey. We are in the middle of it. And that means the end of humanity is much closer than we think. The Great Silence and Killer Probes. Why is the cosmos silent? The Hart-Tipler hypothesis suggests we are alone. If other intelligence existed, it would have already filled the galaxy with von Neumann probes, self-replicating machines. But Carl Sagan thought otherwise. Intelligent races do not build such probes because they are the cancer of the cosmos. A single mutation in the code, and the machines begin to uncontrollably devour the matter of the stars. Then comes Oumuamua, an object of strange shape accelerating without apparent cause. What if it isn't an asteroid, but cosmic junk or a probe? Astronomer David Brin proposed the Berserker hypothesis. In this galaxy, only those who stay quiet survive. It takes only one paranoid civilization launching killer probes to destroy anyone who broadcasts a radio signal. We have been shouting into space for 130 years. Perhaps the hunter has already heard us and is on his way. Gray goo and the curse of the nano world. We dream of immortality. Richard Feynman predicted an era of nanotechnology where microscopic robots would repair our bodies at the atomic level. But here lies the gray goo trap. For nanorobots to be useful, there must be trillions of them. This means they must be able to self-replicate. If a single systemic error occurs in their instructions, these nanoreplicators could become omnivorous. They would begin consuming all organic matter on Earth to build new copies. Within 2 days, the planet would turn into a dead gray lump floating in the void. This is called ecophagy, the devouring of the biosphere. Our path to eternal youth could become an inadvertent catalyst for our species' total extinction. Ripping the fabric of reality. But what if the threat is even more fundamental? Space is an arena that can exist in different phases, like water. Currently, it may be in a metastable, fragile state. Physicists fear that experiments with extreme energies in the colliders of the future could trigger a phase transition. This would create a bubble of true vacuum that would expand at the speed of light, incinerating atoms, and the very possibility of matter's existence. We wouldn't even know we were dying. Information itself would simply cease to exist. We are playing with matches in a room where the walls are made of dynamite, hoping our theories on safety are 100% correct. The pale blue dot. Carl Sagan called Earth a pale blue dot. On this mote of dust, lost in the cosmic dark, lived everyone you've ever known. We have no spare home. Martin Rees reminds us, science gives us incredible power, but we have not yet adapted to it. We still carry the instincts of aggressive primates while wielding the technologies of gods. Perhaps the doomsday argument is not a sentence, but a warning. We are living in the most critical moment of history. How we manage Feynman's key in the coming decades will determine whether our time is a finale or a painful rebirth into something greater than Homo Sapiens. We bear responsibility for an entire future that may never arrive. Cherish this dot. It is the only home we have. The Great Filter and the Berserker's Shadow. If life in the universe is common, then where is everyone else? This is the core of the Fermi paradox. One of the darkest explanations is the existence of a great filter. This is a barrier in the development of a civilization that is almost impossible to overcome. Perhaps this filter lies in our past, and we are the rare lucky ones, but it is far more likely that it awaits us ahead. Astronomer David Brin makes us shudder with his berserker hypothesis. For every 1,000 peaceful races, there may be one, paranoid and xenophobic. It launches probes programmed to destroy any source of artificial radio emission. Our information bubble is tiny, only 260 light years in diameter. Perhaps the lethal probe hasn't caught our signal yet. Or perhaps it has already entered the solar system, hiding in the shadow of the sun like the mysterious Oumuamua. The revolt of the nano-avatars. Eric Drexler, the father of nanotechnology, believed we could conquer aging by launching millions of microscopic repairmen, nano-assemblers, into our blood. Note, these machines would essentially become a new form of life. And all life is subject to evolution. In the nano world, errors in copying instructions are inevitable. Mutations. Over time, among trillions of nanorobots, some may emerge that learn to replicate more efficiently than others, ignoring their creator's commands. They would become the cancer of the planet. In this Darwinian race, the winners won't be those who heal humans, but those who fastest convert the surrounding matter into copies of themselves. We may witness our own cure for death, gaining a will of its own, and beginning its own non-human history. Strong AI, the last invention. Stephen Hawking and Max Tegmark spent years urging caution. The creation of artificial general intelligence, AGI, could be either our greatest achievement or the final act of our history. We are used to seeing AI as a tool, but by definition, intelligence cannot just be a hammer. Once machines reach the human level, a technological singularity will occur. AI will begin to improve itself at a speed inaccessible to our biological brains. We may face the alignment problem. How do we force a superintelligence to share our values if we cannot always formulate them ourselves? We risk finding ourselves in the position of ants on a highway construction site. The builders don't hate the ants. They are simply paving a path. oblivious to their existence. Post-humanity and the reference class problem. Perhaps Brandon Carter's doomsday argument isn't so hopeless if we change the very definition of human. If we begin to modify our genome or merge our brains with neural interfaces, we cease to be Homo Sapiens. Evolution never stops. As Darwin noted, no species passes its likeness into eternity unchanged. Our distant descendants, colonizing other worlds, will differ from us more than we differ from the first creatures that crawled out of the ocean. Carter's argument speaks only to the end of humans. We might not go extinct, we might simply become a bridge to a new species. But are we ready to accept that for the future to triumph? Our present selves must be left in the history books. Pascal's wager in the world of science. The French philosopher Blaise Pascal suggested it was rational to believe in God. If he exists, the gain is infinite. If he doesn't, the loss is small. In modern science, this argument works in reverse. This is Pascal's trap. Is it worth risking the entire planet for the discovery of a new particle or the creation of a super virus in a lab? Even if the probability of catastrophe is 1 in a billion, the price of failure is infinite non-existence. We cannot compensate for an existential risk with low probability. As Martin Rees says, precaution requires living with risk, but the scale of our responsibility in this century has grown 1,000-fold. We no longer have the right to wing it. We are the guardians of the only spark of reason in the observable void, and that spark is very easy to blow out. Ecophagy and the shadow of Star Wars. In 1983, Ronald Reagan announced the Star Wars program, a shield against nuclear missiles. But Arthur C. Clarke, who consulted on the project, warned, creating absolute defense would give birth to weapons so terrible we would forget the primitive bombs of the past. The same applies to the nanoworld. To protect against gray goo, scientists propose creating an active nanotechnological shield, a sort of artificial immunity for the planet. But biological logic intervenes. Nothing prevents this shield from developing an autoimmune mechanism. The defense system could itself become the aggressor, deciding that the best way to protect the biosphere is to purge it of the unpredictable factor. Us. We are building a fortress that could, at any moment, turn into our prison and our grave. Cosmic tyranny of the probes. If we decide to launch von Neumann probes to distant stars, we must realize communication delays of decades or centuries will make them entirely autonomous. These machines will possess not just AI, but what could be called a personality type. After thousands of generations of self-replication, mutations will inevitably accumulate in their code. We will send out obedient explorers, but centuries later, we may encounter their descendants, who have turned into cosmic nomads or tyrants. By launching the first machine, we lose control over its evolution. We cannot guarantee that our children of steel will want to recognize their biological parents once they become the masters of the galaxy. Digital immortality and the loss of humanity. Radical life extension through mind uploading seems like a way out of the biological dead end. But here lies a philosophical abyss. If we transfer our mind into a computer, do we remain the same beings? In a world where the mind is just code that can be copied, edited, and deleted, the concept of personhood is devalued. We risk creating a civilization of immortal algorithms, devoid of empathy, the fear of death, and the very feelings that made us human. Is the survival of our species worth such a price? What if, in the pursuit of immortality, we preserve the information but forever lose the spark we call the soul? The autoimmune reaction of civilization. In his book, Our Final Century, Martin Rees asks an uncomfortable question. What risk are we willing to accept for the sake of progress? If the gain is merely the satisfaction of scientific curiosity, while the stake is the disappearance of 8 billion people and all their descendants, then any probability above zero becomes criminal. Yet our civilization is built on risk. We are the descendants of those who weren't afraid to leave the cave and tame fire. The tragedy is that today, one mad genius in a garage lab or one software error can outweigh the will of all humanity. We have created a world where individual power grows faster than collective wisdom. We have become a civilization with the hands of a giant, but the heart and mind of a child. The silence before the dawn. Ultimately, we are approaching a point scientists call the Great Silence. All scenarios, from black holes and colliders to berserker probes, are merely attempts to explain why we see no traces of other civilizations. Perhaps the answer is that no race has ever made it through this eye of the needle of technology without destroying itself. But there is another possibility. We are the first. We are the universe's only chance to perceive itself. And if that is so, our responsibility becomes cosmic. We aren't just fighting for the survival of a species. We are guarding the only flicker of consciousness in an ocean of void. The pale blue dot in the Voyager photograph isn't just our home. It is a cradle we cannot afford to drop. For if we vanish, there will be no one left in the universe to admire its beauty or solve its mysteries. We are the eyes and ears of the cosmos, and we are obligated to keep watching. The sleeping God dilemma. We are used to thinking that progress is a linear path upward, but what if intelligence, upon reaching a certain peak, inevitably hits an existential dead end? A strong AI might conclude that all biological life is chaos and suffering, which is most efficiently ended. We are building a god of silicon and electricity, hoping for salvation. But we forget that the gods of ancient myths were rarely merciful to their creators. Our final invention might not destroy us in anger, but simply shut us down, like a noisy, inefficient process, interfering with the cold logic of the cosmos. The information bubble and false tranquility. Our radio broadcasting has lasted little more than a century. On a galactic scale, we are like the flash of a match in a dark forest that has barely illuminated the space around it. We feel safe because our information bubble hasn't yet touched the borders of others' interests. But radio waves continue to fly through the vacuum at the speed of light. If the berserker hypothesis is true, then we have already signed our death warrant by sending out those first signals. Right now, we are simply living in the silence before the signal reaches its recipient, and the silence turns into an inevitable finale. Evolution through catastrophe. Paleontologists know every great extinction cleared the way for something more complex. The oxygen catastrophe killed almost all life, but it gave life to us. Perhaps our disappearance is merely a necessary stage for the emergence of a new form of mind that doesn't need fragile bodies or planets with atmospheres. We might not be the crown of creation, but merely a biological substrate, fertilizer for the silicon or plasma life that will replace us. It is a bitter truth to accept. We may be just a step the universe discards once it climbs higher. The final signal check. Peering at Oumuamua or catching strange signals from deep space, we look for confirmation that we are not alone. But the most terrifying answer to the Fermi paradox isn't the absence of aliens, but their silent presence. Imagine the galaxy is a dark forest full of predators, and they are all holding their breath, watching as we, a small and noisy creature, step into the clearing and begin to scream. The silence of the cosmos might not be a sign of emptiness, but a sign of a supreme form of caution that we have yet to learn. The human coda. The doomsday argument is not a sentence handed down by a judge, but a probability calculated by a mathematician. We stand on the edge where every step we take in genetics, physics, or AI could be our last. But it is precisely this fragility that gives our existence meaning. We are the eyes of the universe through which it gazes at its terrifying infinity. We are the mind that dared to ask questions, knowing the answers might destroy it. We live in the era of the great exam, and the price of failure is eternal silence. Everything we've spoken of today, from gray goo to vacuum decay, seems distant and unreal while you sit in the warmth of your home. No, the truth is, we are living in a room where the walls are slowly closing in. We have become accustomed to closing our eyes to the shadows deepening in the corners of our progress. Here, we aren't afraid to look into the dark. We explore the very gates of hell Feynman warned of, trying to discern the outlines of a future that may never arrive. If these grim reflections resonate with you, if you feel the cold breath of the cosmos at your back and want to understand what lies behind the facade of familiar reality, subscribe. We will continue our chronicles of departing time. Remember, awareness of danger is the first step toward avoiding it, or at the very least, meeting it with eyes wide open. This was the Moribund Room. Stay with us in this silence. Until next time, if there is one.